Imagine you're staring down a massive EF3 tornado the size of a city block as it carves a path of destruction heading straight towards you. But what if the ground was on fire and that tornado was a rotating vortex of fire and smoke with winds strong enough to wrap a steel gas pipe around an oak tree? Well, you don't have to imagine. They're called fire tornadoes, an extreme fire weather phenomenon as rare as a unicorn. Now, if you walked outside those doors and you saw a unicorn just standing there, you'd probably think to yourself, what did that Starbucks barista put in my drink this morning? And if you saw another one, maybe you'd wonder, where are all these unicorns coming from? Well, in the last 3 years, there have been 6 confirmed fire tornadoes. It's an alarming trend, but sadly no surprise. Climate change is causing our wildfires to burn hotter and more intense than ever before, resulting in more extreme cases of fire behavior. But the problem is, we have no idea how or where they're most likely to strike. So the solution is we need to observe a fire tornado up close and personal. And that's exactly what I did on August 16th, 2021 at the Dixie Fire. So using a mobile weather Doppler radar, I captured the formation and evolution of not 1, but 2 fire tornadoes as the fire cascaded down the lee side of a mountain. But as this was happening, I had to ask myself, what was causing the rotation in the first place? So I remembered what I saw. Number 1, the fire was burning so hot that it forced air into the atmosphere, creating a fire-induced thunderstorm known as a pyrocumulonimbus cloud. And number 2, the terrain was incredibly steep, tilting the flame of the fire and allowing more air to directly fuel it, but also causing other mechanical eddies or twists and turbulence that could have induced this rotation. So using this data I collected, I sliced the vortices in half, revealing their inner dynamics, but also how the pyrocumulonimbus cloud and terrain helped to induce the rotation and cause these smoke plumes to rotate in the first place. So my results are promising, but I'm only halfway there. The next step is to use state-of-the-art wildfire models to simulate this event and identify exactly what was causing it, so we can apply it to future cases of fire tornadoes. So with my project, I hope to close our knowledge gap and bring us one day closer to finally predicting these unicorns of fire weather. Thank you.
Reimagine your future with a graduate degree from San Jose State University. Located in the San Francisco Bay Area and ranked #1 most transformative university by Money Magazine, San Jose State offers more than 100 high-impact advanced degree programs. You can conduct hands-on research in oceanography or wildfire science, develop new occupational therapies for human wellness, create cutting-edge digital media art, and so much more. Start designing the future you want today. Explore your options at sjsu.edu/graduate programs.
This competition gave me those tools such as how to present yourself, how your body movements make the audience think about your words.
A lot of grad students don't have this opportunity, and so this is a great privilege.
This experience was actually one of the most eye-opening experiences I've had at San Jose State because it allowed me to just understanding the breadth of work that's happening at SJSU. It's just opened my mind.
It was very difficult to judge. There were 10 amazing presentations, and each of them was so different, and they each had their own strengths.
It's not easy to get your scholarship down to a 3-minute presentation like that. And so you have to start out of the gate very strong, and you have to hook the audience on something interesting about your topic, why it's important, why we should care.
It's not enough to have your ideas hidden in a research paper in a library somewhere. You have to get it out into the public so that people understand the value of the research that's going on. So we're developing activities like the Grad Slam as a way of helping students achieve that skill set.
Having this opportunity is going to help me so much when I eventually have to defend my thesis.
I would love it for our industry neighbors to participate in Grad Slam in a variety of ways. Perhaps they could serve as sponsors, perhaps they could send people to serve as judges. We would love them to attend. This is a great way for them to see some of the talent that's emanating from San Jose State University.
That moment of hearing your name get called, it's wonderful. All of the hard labor that I put into this come to fruition.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the San Jose State's 2023 Grad Slam. My name is Mark DeLarco, and I am the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies at San Jose State. Before we begin today's proceedings, we would like to acknowledge the land upon which the university stands. To read the land acknowledgement, I would like to invite Amy Russo to the podium. Amy is a co-chair of the 2023 Grad Slam team and is responsible for creating and implementing a training program for all of our Grad Slam competitors. Amy?
We would like to begin today's event that while we gather here at San Jose State University, we are also gathered on the ethno-historic tribal territory of the Thamian Ohlone, who are the direct ancestors of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and who were missionized into Mission Santa Clara, San Jose, and Dolores. The lands on which San Jose State is established was and continues to be of significance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. We also recognize that the ancestors of the Muwekma Ohlone constructed and maintained the 3 Bay Area missions. Our campus extends to surrounding areas that once held a tupentok, a traditional roundhouse which was located at the historic Lope Inigo Landgrant Ranchero, Posimi y Posetas de los Animos, the Little Well of Souls, and also Marcelo, Pio, and Cristobal Landgrant Ranchero Ulestock, which were places of celebration and religious ceremonies, as well as nearby ancestral shell mounds that served as the tribe's traditional cemetery sites and territorial monuments. San Jose State also desires to honor the military service of the Muwekma men and women who have honorably served overseas during World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, and who are still serving in the United States Armed Forces today. We would like to welcome you to our event here at Grad Slam. And we'll pass the mic back to Mark.
Thank you, Amy. And thank you for all the work that you've done in preparing our finalists for this moment. Today, the top 10 finalists in our Grad Slam competition will compete for prizes and for bragging rights. These finalists are already winners, with their presentations having been selected from the large field of semifinalists. I congratulate each one of you for making it this far, and I look forward to seeing your presentations shortly. I would like to thank all of you for coming today, whether in person here at the Hammer Theater or via live stream. I especially want to thank our graduate students who are turning out or tuning in to support their fellow graduate students, as well as the members of the community that are here to sample the outstanding work being done by SJSU graduate students. I'm especially gratified to see so many of our dedicated staff, faculty, and university leaders here. Thank you all for coming to see the work of our graduate students. We also have 4 distinguished judges who will have the hard job of choosing our Grad Slam winners. I would like to invite them to come up to the podium so that I may introduce them. Please come up. Please stand. Kate Forrest is a current student at SJSU studying for her master's degree in meteorology and climate science. She was our first place winner at last year's Grad Slam competition and represented SJSU at the Western Association of Graduate Schools Grad Slam a few weeks ago. You may have seen her winning presentation today in the pre-show reel. She is a graduate assistant at SJSU's Wildfire Interdisciplinary Research Center. Kate's passion for fire weather was ignited after following California's 2020 wildfire season and has since taken an interest in fire weather forecasting. In exciting news, she has just accepted a meteorologist position at the National Weather Service in Sacramento upon graduating this spring. Meenakshi Goel graduated from San Jose State University with a master's in chemistry in 2009. She is currently a principal scientific researcher in the Department of Small Molecule Pharmaceutical Sciences at Genentech, a member of Roche Pharmaceuticals, a leading international biotechnology company. As an analytical chemist, she supports research, development, and clinical manufacturing of best-in-class therapeutics using state-of-the-art analytical techniques like high-pressure liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, high-resolution mass spectrometry, supercritical fluid chromatography, multidimensional liquid chromatography, and more. Meenakshi is an author on several research articles in the field of two-dimensional liquid chromatography, supercritical fluid chromatography. I'm actually pronouncing these. and accelerating release of peptide from long-acting polymer matrix. Meenakshi is also a team member of the Diversity and Inclusion Representation Pillar at Genentech and serves as a university ambassador for her department to reach out to different universities for recruiting and building connections with eligible students. Dr. Stefan Fraser is a professor and chair of the Department of Linguistics and Language Development at SJSU. An 18-year veteran of the university, he has promoted student success and celebration whenever possible, especially in his role as chair of the SJSU Academic Senate from 2017 to 2019. He is a longtime educator of English as a second language and a trainer of ESL teachers. Above all, he is interested in how people display their individuality and creativity, whether via language or through the arts, sciences, or education. Dr. David Korsmeyer is the Deputy Center Director for Research and Technology at NASA's Ames Research Center in California's Silicon Valley, and is responsible for the overall scope and direction of the center's operations and facilities. He also manages the NASA Research Park, co-located at Moffett Field, which hosts academic, industry, and other government organizations. He is one of 4 senior center leaders guiding and managing NASA's virtual institutes based at Ames, competitive internal research and development projects, and external research collaborations. He leads the center's overall efforts in research, science, and engineering developments that support NASA's missions in aeronautics, science, exploration, and technology. Some key achievements include initiating NASA's next lunar rover and the VIPER, or Volatiles Investigating Polar Explorer rover. In addition to his PhD in aerospace engineering from the University of Texas at Austin, he holds a master's degree in management from the Stanford University Graduate School of Business. Thank you, judges, for taking the time to join us today. Please take your seats. For those of you who are not familiar with the San Jose State Grad Slam, it is a fast-paced and exciting event where students condense their research or creative activity into a mere 3-minute presentation with one slide to support their presentation. It is a great professional development exercise for our graduate students who, as I mentioned earlier, receive specialized training in how to present their work in a way that is understandable to a general audience and how to engage the audience. Since 2019, we have invited our first place winners to return the following year to act as a judge, as Kate is doing. This year, I am pleased to announce that our audience choice selection from 2021, Holt Hanley, will be acting as our MC for today's proceedings. Holt graduated from San Jose State in 2022 with a master's degree in meteorology and climate science. He presently works as a broadcast meteorologist at KSBW Action News 8 on the Central Coast and produces educational, weather, and wildfire content on both YouTube and Twitter. Holt, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark. And I just want to start out by saying how happy I am to be here. It's pretty awesome event. I was just telling this Mark earlier, but some of the skills that you learn, and you guys all learned the last few weeks preparing for this, basically where you just take a massive amount of ideas and research and then condense them, make them more concise, take an idea that you have, share it with somebody else. It's an incredibly important skill, and I swear I'd use what I learned with the Grad Slam in 2021 every single day at my job. So yeah, happy to participate in this event. But a few notes before we start. There's 2 little ground rules for the audience. First one is what I'd call like the movie theater rule. You want to silence your cell phones, then not have any flash photography. So you may want to take a moment just to check your phone. Certainly don't want to have your ringer go off during one of their great speeches. And then second one is we have a live stream going on for this event. And we have the chat enabled for the live stream. So people who have access to the chat can cheer on their friends and family, but we will be removing any inappropriate comments, so we'll keep it nice and civil. And kind of 6 different steps for how this event's going to move forward. So I'm going to call one of the students onto the stage, and then they'll kind of give the nod that they're ready, and then there'll be a countdown clock that starts. Once it goes to 0, you guys will begin your presentation, and then you'll have 3 minutes and 5 seconds to present your research. And then after that, there will be a 1-point deduction for every 10 seconds you go over. So if you go over 30 seconds, that'd be a 3-point deduction, something like that. And then the judges will be scoring you. While they're scoring you, I'll just ask you a couple questions, get to know your research a little bit better, maybe get to know all of you a little bit better. And then that isn't part of the criteria, so no worries about your answers whatsoever. And then once all that is done, then Dean DeLarco will come back on the stage and talk about the audience choice winner and how all that works. So it's a good part of the event where everyone here, I believe on the live stream as well, will be able to vote for their winner as well. And then kind of just the main thing that the judges are looking for, and something to keep in mind throughout this event, that it has to do with 2 things. It's the research, but then also the communication. So the idea is you want to be able to take some of these very complex subjects, as you'll see in some of the titles. I had to look up some words, to be honest. And present that to an audience in a way that is jargon-free. And I think it just reminds me of my favorite communication quote. It's, if you truly understand something, you can present it in simple terms. So that's one of the main things that we'll be looking for today. But without further ado, I think it's time to get started. And the students' names were randomized, and Hong Vi Vu won the honor of presenting first. So let's give a round of applause. Nice. So Hong Vi Vu is obtaining a Master's of Science in Biological Science with a concentration in physiology. Her presentation is titled, Assessing the Effects of a Molecule on Chemotherapy-Induced Peripheral Neuropathy. So give the nod when you're ready. All right, and the countdown clock will begin.
You know that feeling when you've been sitting in one position for too long, and when you try and stand up, your foot has gone numb or it starts to tingle uncomfortably? Imagine that this happens to you for the majority of your day. This is one of the most common side effects of something called chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy, or CIPN for short. Now, raise your hand if you know someone in your life who has been diagnosed with cancer. And with that, globally, close to 60% of new cancer cases require some type of treatment, and of those patients, 40% of them experience the side effects of pain, numbness, and tingling, all of which are associated with balance skills, motor skills, and fine coordination skills. There's currently no treatment or therapy that can cure CIPN, and we want to know if there's somehow a way we can prevent this from happening in the future. Previous research has actually shown that in a warm molecule, as pictured here, if we remove a certain molecule, it can actually protect against the side effects of CIPN. In the Wilkinson Neurophysiology lab, we replicated this very same experiment by removing that very same molecule, but in a mouse instead. We mimicked the typical chemotherapy treatments that real-life patients undergo on the mouse that had that molecule removed and a regular mouse over the course of 2 weeks. After this, we looked at how the muscle spindle afferents responded to our lab's electrophysiology experiments. And why did we look at the muscle spindle afferents? It's because the muscle spindles are found in our muscles. They act as these tiny little sensors that send messages to our brain, and our brain is able to interpret this and lets us know how our muscles are stretching or where they are in space. The muscle spindle afferents provide us great information on things like balance and coordination, both of which are affected by CIPN and good indicators of this side effect. We've already found promising results that the removal of this molecule can help protect against the side effects of CIPN in a mouse model. This is one of the first steps in helping to create a therapeutic drug that can act as an inhibitor of this molecule and can be taken in conjunction with treatment. We hope in the future to continue to find solutions that not only target cancer cells, but also improve the quality of care of patients and their loved ones. I wanted to thank the Wilkinson Neurophysiology Lab, Dr. Wilkinson, as well as the chemotherapy team, and also Dr. Miriam Goodman over at Stanford University for everything they've done on this project. Thank you.
Nice, that was a terrific job. Yeah, just first thoughts. Like chemotherapy, obviously, there's lots of challenges that come with that. So just amazing that you're trying to figure out how to lessen the load a little bit by reducing the side effects. Curious as to how you got into this field.
Yeah, definitely. I was always interested in physiology, and when I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Wilkinson about her neurophysiology lab, I definitely knew that was something I would want to be a part of. And also in my personal life, my own mother was diagnosed with cancer and also went through chemotherapy and experienced some of the things that I was talking about in my speech. So a project that definitely hits close to home for me personally.
Nice. Yeah, it's always inspiring when someone can take a personal problem and then use that as motivation to help other people. And then, is this a field you hope to go into in the future?
So for cancer research, it's not what I'm doing presently in the future, but I am going into the field of biotechnology and working in the biotech industry after I graduate.
Nice, that's very exciting. Everyone give her one more round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, our next presenter is Chloe Engst. Chloe, would you please come to the stage? And she is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Applied Anthropology. Her presentation is entitled Taphonomy and Homelessness in San Jose, California. Are you ready? All right, yes. Countdown clock begins.
What is something that happens to everyone that we don't ever want to talk about? Death. Well, I'm going to talk about it. My research is about taphonomy, the study of the processes our bodies go through after we die. And taphonomy is a useful forensic tool that can help to point death investigators in the right direction when obvious information surrounding a death is lacking. So, how does one actually study this? Decomposition research facilities, also known as body farms, provide semi-controlled settings for study using human donors. Researchers examine post-mortem decay by simulating macabre death scenarios, such as burying underground, submerging underwater, and even placing in the trunks of cars. But here's the catch. You can't just apply taphonomic data from one region to another. It's not that simple because every environment has different climatic and ecological features which act upon a cadaver in different ways. So I created my own body farm using pig carcasses, a common proxy for human remains. The unique urban setting of San Jose inspired me to look at the death experiences of the city's considerable number of unhoused individuals who reside on the streets. Frequently overlooked and stigmatized, these people experiencing homelessness endure constant exposure to the elements, lack of access to health care, and the likelihood of violence, making premature death not uncommon. 1,113 homeless individuals have died on the streets of Santa Clara County in the last 5 years to this day. For my experiment, I deployed 4 pig carcasses in outdoor death scenarios, in open air, in a sleeping bag, inside an open tent, and inside a closed tent. For 102 days, I recorded all post-mortem changes and collected insects that colonized on the carcasses. These data gave me what I needed to create a model that determines an estimated time since death interval when someone is found dead on the street. My research demonstrates that conditions of homelessness must play some role in the interpretation of urban death events. It is imperative that we look at taphonomy in more contexts and environments than we currently do. And as much as we don't want to talk about it, we will all die one day, but we won't all die the same. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great job, and I asked you this question earlier, but I thought the response was pretty interesting. So how did you keep the pig carcasses from getting tampered with by like animals or anything like that?
Oh, so we enclosed them in dog crates so that small rodents and scavengers wouldn't get in to start eating the carcass. So that protected the pigs from that, but we did have events of human tampering, which actually, I mean, it was really frustrating at first because I was upset that it had affected the reliability, but it kept happening. And we think that it was likely done by the people experiencing homelessness who actually reside in the area. So after it kept happening, we realized, oh, this might actually be an agent of taphonomy in the urban context because it just frequently occurred, and this needs to be looked at. Yes, it was disappointing that it affected the research, but on the other hand, we discovered something new, which we call human survival scavenging.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. It's almost like it seems like a mistake at first, but then it almost could make your results more reliable.
Yeah, it was great that we came upon that. And this type of research is often only performed in rural and secluded areas. And it was very unusual that we actually did this in an urban context because it's very rarely done. So
nice, yeah. Congratulations for all the great research.
Thank you so much.
All right, our next presenter is Peace Liu. Would you please come to the stage? And Peace Liu is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Speech Language Pathology. Her presentation is entitled, Let's Rethink Bilingual Stuttering. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Imagine that you have a dog. You take your dog to the vet, who then weighs your dog and pulls up a weight chart for horses. The vet says, according to my weight chart for horses, your dog is severely underweight. We all recognize the absurdity of comparing the performance of one group, dogs, to the criteria set for another group, horses. A similar absurdity exists in the way we assess for bilingual stuttering today. Let me explain. Stuttering is a speech disorder made up of disfluencies, which we can think of as bumps in our speech. These bumps can be things like unintentionally repeating a sound or a word. Bumpy speech can happen in any language. In English, it could sound something like, is this stuttering? While all people have some bumpy speech, if someone were to have a lot of bumpy speech, they would be more likely diagnosed with stuttering. Clinicians traditionally use the 3% rule. If more than 3% of speech is considered bumpy, then a diagnosis of stuttering is usually given. However, this rule was created from data taken from monolingual children who only speak one language. Does this rule then hold up for bilingual children? That's what my research focused on. I looked at existing data and found that bilingual children have different patterns of bumpy speech that do not conform to the 3% rule found in monolinguals. If we were to use the 3% rule to assess for stuttering in bilingual children, we could end up giving incorrect diagnoses. We could send a child to therapy for a disorder that they don't even have. This would result in a needlessly devastating experience. What do we then do with all of this information? For clinicians, this research advises pushing away from the 3% rule when assessing bilingual children. Instead, clinicians can take advantage of other resources, like questionnaires. For parents of young children who are bilingual, remember, bilingualism is wonderful, and your child may have more or less bumpy speech compared to their monolingual friends. And that's okay. For all of us, remember, just as it is absurd to compare dogs to horses, So it is absurd to assess bilingual children with criteria set for monolingual children. Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the little comparison you did with dogs and horses. Probably brought the research home. Did you learn any other interesting little communication techniques throughout the process of preparing for this?
As far as communication as itself, or communicating my
yeah,
topic
just communicating
to
your speech, maybe something you learned from Amy.
I think this experience taught me how to take something very clinical, very research focused, and translate it to something that is accessible for the general audience. And as someone who's going into healthcare and future clinician, it's really important for me to take something that is very, that's full of jargon and translate it into something that's accessible. So I really appreciated this opportunity.
Oh yeah, and one of the best ways to do it is analogy, and you did it flawlessly, so great job.
Thank you.
All right, our next presenter is Padmaja Iyer. And Padmaja is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Environmental Studies. Her presentation is entitled, Who Should Decide Where Lithium is Mined? Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Raise your hand if you are completely dependent on your cell phone or your laptop. Like me, as we all are, you might also drive an electric vehicle or hope to drive one in the future. These technologies use specific batteries that need a very specific element called lithium, and the United States has plenty of it. In fact, US governments and car manufacturers are investing millions of dollars into mining for lithium on US soil. But who should decide where to mine? Is it the car manufacturers, the US government, or the mining companies? What about the people who actually live near the mines? Well, there are public participation and consultation processes in place to give them an opportunity to be part of the decision-making process. So I wanted to find out how people were experiencing this decision-making process. So I interviewed farmers, ranchers, and native tribal governments who live closest to one of the prospective, possibly biggest lithium mine in the nation at Thacker Pass, Nevada. And what I found is that at the degree of participation fell right in the center of Arnstein's ladder that you can see on the slide from 1969 under tokenism. The mining company and the US government simply informed people of a decision that had already been made. And in the name of consultation, they listened to people's concerns, but with no degree of power. And they placated or they bribed people by giving them money for school upgrades and road improvements. So my research really shows that in order to make an effort to move up the ladder from tokenism to citizen control, local communities actually created their own organization called the Thacker Pass Concerned Citizens. And the nearest tribe, called the Fort McDermott Paiute Shoshone, created their first consultation policy since the reservation was created in 1936. And other communities and local tribal governments can use these strategies if they find themselves near one of the hundreds of lithium mine sites that are coming up and fight to gain a seat at the table. Thank you.
That was a great job. Just curious, was there anything that stood out in the interviews that you did in your research?
Absolutely. One of the things that really stood out was, if you looked at that ladder, the majority of the responses pointed to tokenism, but there were a lot of responses that pointed to manipulation. And that's not something that I expected, because I did interview the mining company, Lithium Nevada, and really understood that they were trying to do things differently, but they were really just using strategies that have worked in developing countries.
Interesting. And is there any effort to take some of the lessons that have been learned here and bring them out to other areas that are near mines?
Well, the issue is that we have government policies that are really fast-tracking these environmental impact statement reports. And so the lessons from this research can be used by other communities. So there's tribal governments teaching other tribal governments how to write their own consultation policies. There are ranching and farming communities that are teaching other communities how to form their own organization and how to get legislation and funding for independent science and for communication facilitation. So the real learning is happening from community to community.
That sounds like very important research. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, our next presenter is Amanbir Kanduja. And Amanbir Kanduja is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Artificial Intelligence. His presentation is entitled, "The Future is Red." Are you ready? Yes. Cool.
All right. Raise your hand if you think wildfires are bad. All right, let's see a few hands up. Experts in the field will often tell you that wildfires can be a good thing. But you ask the same question to people who have lost homes and families to wildfires, and they'll probably disagree with you. On the one hand, wildfires can be a good thing. They're a way for nature to clean up its own mess. They're a way for forests to clean out their organic material. In fact, putting out wildfires manually with human intervention poses a greater future risk because all that extra dead foliage can lead to catastrophic fires in the future. On the other hand, though, wildfires are becoming more unpredictable in terms of area of effect and duration, and they're happening far more frequently than they used to. The bottom line is, wildfires need to be carefully monitored, if not controlled, to prevent the loss of life and property due to them. My research sets out to do exactly that by forecasting the growth of wildfires using many variables in the process. On the regional level, getting even an estimate of what the next few wildfire seasons will look like is essential to firefighters and local governments for load management and loss prevention. So we set out to take two major areas, South Korea and the state of California, and we tracked three variables: duration, area of effect, and frequency of wildfires over the last decade. Using a technique called time series forecasting, we were able to create not only an accurate forecast, but we were also able to show how each of the variables contributed to this accuracy. The slide here shows a visualization using 3D printed sculptures of this forecast, which was exhibited at the National Exhibition Center in Seoul, South Korea. And this was done to send a message to unaware people about how wildfires are actually closer to their lives than they think. My research builds on the fact that wildfires are not singular events. There are points and variables that can be tracked. This research can be magnified to include features like population, air quality, weather changes, wind patterns. And this research is not just useful to firefighters and local authorities. It's useful to other researchers to build on this and create more accurate forecasts. It's important for residents in wildfire-prone areas to know what to expect come the next wildfire season. Wildfires are natural cleansers, but with a little bit of forecasting and knowledge, we can make sure that they don't become natural disasters. Thank you.
Nice, that was a great job. My thesis 2 years ago is actually about artificial intelligence and fire forecasting in a different way, so I'm sure we could probably talk for hours up here. But just one question, what was the part of your research that maybe surprised you the most?
So I was looking at the data, and the thing that surprised me was how much wind patterns change what you can expect about wildfires. There's a phenomenon called El Nino, which is a change in wind patterns that happens every few years. And I found that 2017 was the last year for El Nino, which is, I think, also this year. And you would expect less wildfires that year, but there were actually more. So it took me a week to actually read through everything and relearn 7th grade geography to understand what is actually happening. So yeah, that was the most surprising part of my research.
Yeah, it's very interesting how all the different factors come together to lead to wildfire. It's not just one thing. Do you have any plans to make your model operational for future fire seasons?
I hope so, yeah. That is a part of the future scope.
Oh, that'll be a useful tool for California. That is much needed.
It's much needed.
Nice. Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is David Poirier. And David is obtaining his MBA. His presentation is entitled Fighting Student Poverty with Professional Mentorship. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
What if I told you that the person sitting next to you is living in poverty? Well, if you're a student at San Jose State University, that might just be the case. SJSU has one of the highest student poverty rates in all of California. However, through creating a professional mentorship program, I led the SJSU MBA candidates to uplift various students out of poverty. In January of 2022, I launched a mentorship program where MBA candidates mentor undergraduate students in professional development. Now, the original purpose of this program was to increase student engagement. However, the program had some unexpected outcomes. In order to better understand the students involved, I conducted institutional research through the MLK Library on the demographic backgrounds of our students. I discovered that 41.5% of SJSU students do not have secure housing and are essentially living in poverty. That being said, that means that almost half of our students are struggling just to meet their basic needs. That's when I knew that we could use the mentorship program to help these students in poverty. Over the course of 1 year, I led the MBA mentors to teach our students professional skills, such as resume building and interviewing, in order to help them secure meaningful work. The MBA mentors volunteered their time to pass on their experience to transform their mentees into successful professionals. In the end, the mentorship program did make an impact, but not just the one I originally intended. 37 out of 65 of the mentees who were looking for jobs found meaningful work through this program. We estimated that 17 of the mentees who found jobs came from poverty and found stronger financial security through their newfound income. Many of the mentees were women, minorities, and first-generation college students who became empowered to overcome institutional barriers and break glass ceilings through the guidance of their mentors. So maybe you don't think you have what it takes to make a real difference in the world, but by volunteering to pass along your experience to someone in need and by stepping up to be a mentor, you will find the opportunity to make an impact and the power to change someone's life. Thank you.
Yeah, mentorship is definitely a crucial component of success in life. Have you had any mentors throughout your journey that maybe sparked your interest in this field or helped you along the way?
Well, I've had plenty of mentors, but one mentor who really stands out is Dr. Gretchen Lester, who was a guide to me throughout this whole process in my experience in grad school, and none of this would have been possible without her.
Nice. Any key lessons that she's passed on to you?
One thing she's passed on is that the smallest detail can make the biggest impact. Even if it's just a small detail about chemotherapy or about forest fires, learning that detail can lead you to learning something big.
Nice, that's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next presenter is Jaden Rollins. And Jaden is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Biological Science with a concentration in Physiology. Her presentation is entitled The RHD Locus, a Safe Solution for Gene Editing. All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
We all have DNA inside of us that serves as instructions to make us who we are.
Think of this DNA as a document. And imagine one sentence in this document is missing a key word. That sentence would be unreadable. To fix this sentence, we would need to find a way to insert that missing word. In the Johnson lab, this is exactly what we're aiming to do with DNA. There are over 10,000 different diseases in which a single functional gene is missing. Due to this unreadable sequence, the body doesn't function as it should. If we were to insert a healthy version of this gene into an individual's DNA, they could be cured. But unlike a document, we cannot just insert a gene anywhere in the DNA. We need a safe location, a location that, if edited, would not result in any adverse consequences. Toward this aim, I'm evaluating a specific DNA location that could be safe for gene insertion. This location determines if you have a positive or negative blood type, and is called the RHD locus. For someone with a blood type A negative, for example, the gene at this location is already not functional. Yet, individuals with a non-functional RHD gene are completely normal. Because we know that this DNA location can be disrupted without causing any problems, we hypothesize that the RHD locus can be a safe place for gene editing. To insert a gene into DNA, though, we first need to make a cut in the DNA. To do this, we are using the CRISPR-Cas9 technology. CRISPR-Cas9 includes 3 parts: Cas9, which is a molecular scissor that cuts DNA, a guide RNA that guides Cas9 to a specific location, and a repair template that repairs the break in the DNA with the gene that we are inserting. With the help of my lab mates, I constructed these 3 CRISPR components. We made our guide RNA match the DNA found at the RHD locus so that it can tell Cas9 to cut there. Our repair template contains a gene called GFP that glows green so that we can visually prove when it is successfully inserted. I then added these 3 CRISPR components to human blood cells and confirmed that the GFP gene was not only inserted at the correct location, but also functional, as observed by this green glow. My next step is to repeat this process, but instead insert the gene that is responsible for the bleeding disorder hemophilia A. If successful, this innovative technique of using the RHD locus as a safe place for editing our genetic document can be applied to curing several diseases. Thank you.
Wow, that's some unbelievable research. It almost sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. It's very cool. But just interested, is there anything throughout your research process that has surprised you?
Definitely, the whole process can be very challenging, but just getting a successful result or doing something correctly is super rewarding in the end. And I think that was probably the most surprising part of it for me.
Nice. And then is there any plans to take some of the research you have and kind of apply it into the field and actually start curing some diseases?
Yeah, so it would be really cool. With our next step, we're going to insert that gene for hemophilia A. And if that's successful, we could swap out that gene for a different gene, such as factor 9 for hemophilia B, or for other monogenic disorders that involve one gene that's missing.
Nice, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next presenter is John Cooper. John is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Statistics. His presentation is entitled Few-Shot Learning for Fast Acquisition, High Resolution Microscopy. Are you ready?
Yeah, cool, let's go. Okay, I just want you to imagine you're playing the most horrible game with somebody. In this game, you have to pronounce words of a foreign language. without any reference to this language, and your opponent sits there with a dictionary, vaguely critiquing you in your pronunciation. And this goes on for some time until you can pronounce a word with such authenticity that your opponent cannot distinguish between your pronunciation and the true pronunciation of the word, at which time the game ends and you have won. So this is what a generative adversarial network does, a type of deep learning network. It employs this method to produce high-resolution generic images seemingly from nothing. And one of the applications of this network is to aid medical researchers and practitioners in obtaining high-resolution microscopy imagery from noisy examples. Typically, this high-resolution imagery comes as a result of a slow acquisition process, a camera process. And because of this, there have been fast acquisition methods developed to help researchers more quickly obtain these images than before. The only problem is that these images are extremely noisy. They're really low resolution. And so practitioners face a dilemma between obtaining a mountain of low resolution images in a short amount of time or a few high resolution images at the expense of time. Generative adversarial networks, or GANs, they bridge this gap between high-resolution imagery and fast acquisition speeds. And they do so by taking this mountain of low-resolution images and simultaneously denoising and super-resolving them, thereby producing the high-resolution images desired by practitioners. And there's a problem, though, in that these networks take time to train. So if a practitioner wishes to use this trained model on a different data set, they have to take the time to fine-tune and retrain this model over thousands of images, right, to obtain the quality that they desire. And this is a big time expense. And so this is where the idea of few-shot learning comes into play, which is the focus of our research. Few-shot learning is a modality of deep learning which looks to accelerate a model's ability to inherently learn new tasks, as opposed to feeding it enough data so that it's forced to learn. And through doing this, it allows the model to learn these new tasks very easily and very quickly from only a few examples. So instead of a practitioner needing to use thousands of images to retrain their model, few-shot learning enables this practitioner to take 10 to 50 high-resolution images and train their model up to a desired image quality. And so generative adversarial networks, they play a really difficult game, right? And few-shot learning is a game within this game which extends its difficulty by only permitting a few tries for this model to get things right. Our research mainly focuses on the minimum number of examples needed for a network like this to produce high-quality images. And we hope that by reducing the time needed for practitioners to obtain this high quality of data, we can expedite the important medical care and research that they provide for us all. So thank you.
Nice job, and I love the image that you had. Was that produced using the technique that you were talking about?
No, that's just DALL-E. So I just typed in a Renaissance painting of a robot painting a Renaissance painting. I don't know, it just came to me, you know?
Yeah, everybody's been talking about DALL-E and ChatGPT recently.
Yeah.
Curious, are you in the camp that thinks AI will be a benefit or possibly a danger?
I'm trying to make it a benefit. I feel like we use AI for efficiency, and that efficiency ends up making us work 3, 4, 5 times as hard, right? And the problem is like we should be using AI to retire people, you know? Get that job to be done by a robot, you get your money, you run away to Hawaii, and that's really not what's happening right now, right? So I'm trying to make it more so that we can all retire, right? That's the goal, instead of making us hyper efficient.
Yeah, I think we're all on board with that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Our next presenter is Ashley Joseph. Ashley is obtaining a Master's of Science degree in Computer Engineering. Her presentation is entitled Li-Fi, the Future of Wireless Communication. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Cool.
From checking our emails to streaming our favorite shows, Wi-Fi has become stable in our daily life. But have we stopped considering the potential impact it could be having on our health? World Health Organization's International Agency for Research and Cancer have classified electromagnetic radio signals, including Wi-Fi, as carcinogenic to human. My research focused on developing an alternative network in order to overcome the limitations of Wi-Fi. First, let us see what are the other reasons why we need an alternative network. As we all know, the radio signals used in Wi-Fi cannot transmit through water, because of which it cannot be used by offshore workers or by marine researchers. Also, these signals can interfere with the critical healthcare equipments and with the navigation system. Because of this, Wi-Fi is restricted in operation theaters, high-risk health centers, and in aviation industry. All these call out the need for a network with better capabilities. And here comes Li-Fi. Li-Fi stands for light fidelity. It can also be said as light-based Wi-Fi. As you can see in the slide, it uses visible light instead of radio signals to transmit the data. Transceiver-fitted LEDs are used to illuminate the room as well as to transmit and receive data. Here, data transmission happens through illumination, where the intensity of light is varied much faster than human eye can detect. Since we are using LEDs, it makes this network cost-effective, energy-efficient, and highly accessible anywhere and everywhere. It was Professor Harald Haas who suggested the idea of using light as a medium of data communication. As a part of my research, I analyzed the possibilities and capabilities of Li-Fi both in indoor and in outdoor environment. For the indoor study, I used a high-beam phosphorus LED, and for the outdoor study, I developed a car-to-car communication system where the driver of car behind will be alerted whenever the driver of car in front slams on the brake or turn on the indicator. The results were really promising, and if Li-Fi can be the future of wireless, it will pave the way for a highly accessible, safe, secure, and faster network. Thank you.
Great job. I'm just curious as to how you got interested in this field.
So it was like in 2016, I was just going through Facebook and I just saw something called Li-Fi, something my friend had shared. And I felt interested, and it was really curious to know what data, light can transmit data. So this is a research which I have been working on from years, it's in my mind. But these graduate studies at San Jose State gave me an opportunity to work on it more and more. Yeah.
Nice, that's very interesting. And then, do you think this will replace Wi-Fi? And if so, how long do you think that transition would take?
Yeah, it can definitely replace Wi-Fi. So as I said, there are two perspectives to it, indoor and outdoor. So most of the data utilization happens indoor, like when we are at home working, or when we are if you are in office, when you are working from office, or you are watching movies, streaming. So these indoor communications can totally be replaced with Li-Fi because light is everywhere. The entire world is now connected with light. And if for some outdoor specific environment where we need a high quality of network, we can use a heterogeneous network with Li-Fi and Wi-Fi, where I am still working on. I am planning to write a research paper on that.
Nice, that's very exciting. I look forward to seeing how it's applied.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, our last presenter for the afternoon is Diana Huang, and Diana is obtaining her Doctor of Education degree. Her presentation is entitled A New and Empowering Chinese American Parents Parenting Model. Are you ready?
I am.
Good luck.
Take a look at this New Yorker cover. What do you see? This award-winning illustration depicting a worried mother and her fearful child has sparked the public discussion on the safety and well-being of Chinese American children. Racial discrimination against Chinese American adolescents has long existed before the pandemic. Research indicates Chinese American adolescents experience physical and verbal harassment at school. Racial repression is linked to social functioning problems and mental health issues. The question now is, how can parents, such as the mom on the New Yorker cover, teach the children to develop resistance and resilience in the face of intergenerational experiences of racial discrimination? My research addresses that. we developed and tested this new parenting model that is culturally informed. The foundation of this model is parent-child interaction style, including parental warmth, monitoring of the children, and providing reasons when giving guidance. The two pillars are families' acculturation choices. One side is the host culture, and the other side is the heritage culture. How much a family embraces and celebrates both cultures matters to the well-being of the children. The top of the model is anti-racism parenting. That is what parents believe and know about racism and how they act to fight against it. My research found statistically significant correlations between the parenting practices measured by this model and children's well-being outcomes, including psychological well-being, emotional intelligence, and lifelong learning skills. Now that we know what works, parents, such as the mother on the New Yorker cover, can be empowered to protect the well-being of their children. This model can also be adapted and applied to other minority communities. Parents and future parents, I invite you to reflect on your parenting skills to ensure your children are well prepared to the challenges of today's multicultural society. Thank you.
Great job, Diana. Was it the New Yorker article that sparked your interest in this, or is that something you've been interested in for a while?
I have always been very passionate about the welfare of Chinese American community, particularly the adolescents in this community, because the challenges they face is just enormous. They are at the intersection of being adolescents, which make them vulnerable to self-doubt and identity crisis, and they are also a minority group which subject them to the racial discrimination that happens in our society. But they have even greater problems because these two combined, the intersectionality, will cause them to have multiple conflicts. For example, they have intrinsic needs to feel good and be proud of themselves, but then they have to fight the society's projection of inferiority. Children need to admire and love their parents, but the society keep on criticizing and ridicule their family values, language, or even way of life. It is these challenges make their life enormously difficult.
Very interesting. And do you have any advice to any parents or future parents out there?
I invite you to check out my parenting model and try to put it in practices.
Nice. Love it. Very good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes the presentations. What a great job they all did. I think we should just give them one more big round of applause.
Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, students. That was great. Now that the students have presented, the judges will be walking with me to the back of the room to deliberate. In the meantime, if you haven't already done so, please enter your scores into the computer, and then we'll go into the back and determine the winners. But in addition, the audience has an important task too. It's up to you to pick the audience choice winner. You may vote for your favorite presentation by scanning the QR code, which will appear on the slide right there. From here or from your screen at home. The student whose presentation ranks highest in the audience poll, but who is not the first or second place winner selected by the judges, will be awarded the Audience Choice Award and will receive a trophy as well as a $500 prize. Today's second place winner will receive a trophy and $800, and our Grad Slam first place winner will receive a trophy and $1,200. Two of our winners will be invited to the CSU Grad Slam being hosted by San Diego State on May 5th. Please be sure to check out our website and join the virtual celebration to choose the next statewide Grad Slam champion on May 5th. Holt.
All right, before we announce the winners, we have a little bit of a surprise. And we'd like to welcome the Spartones, SJSU's premier co-ed a cappella group, to the stage. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, the piece they'll be performing is Into You by Ariana Grande. The Spartones perform Into You every year in celebration of the life of this version's arranger, Kevin Rodrigo, a former Spartones member who passed away in 2017. Spartones, take it away.
I'm so into you. I'm so bad. And all I want is some fire indeed. Oh, baby, look what you started. The temperature's rising. Is this gonna happen? Been waiting and waiting. You never move before I make a move. This could take some time. Make too many mistakes. Gotta get this right. Girl, was just starting. The temperature's rising. Been waiting make a move, yeah, make a move now, baby. So baby, come light me up, and maybe I'll let you a little bit dangerous. Maybe I'll a little less conversation and a little more touch my body. 'Cause I'm so into you. Yeah, watching us. So maybe let's keep this secret, a little less scandalous. Maybe don't let them see. A little less conversation and a little more touch my body. 'Cause I'm so into you. Da da da. Da da da. Da da da. Baby, come light me up. I'll let you on it. Little dangerous. That's how I want it. I'm so into you. So come light me up. Little dangerous. Little less conversation and a little more touch my body.
I think you guys will be strong in the next version of Pitch Perfect. That was great. Nice, let's give them another round of applause. All right, so before we announce the winners, we're supposed to have a raffle. Do you know if we have the tickets, Jennifer or Amy? Gotcha, yeah, no rush. I give a nice weather forecast for everybody. Yeah, but now would be a good time if you have your raffle ticket, just take it out of your pocket, and then we'll have 3 winners once the tickets get here. All righty, we've got the raffle tickets. I think it was worth the wait. All right, we're going to have 3 winners, and you have to be present to win. So if you end up winning, just look for Jennifer after the event, and she'll give you your prize. So the first one is 416341. All right, got our first winner there. Congratulations. All right, next one, 416392. All right, got winner number 2. And our final one, 416334. Anybody? All right, got winner number 3 right there. All right, thank you very much. And pass it off to you.
We're almost ready to announce the winners. So before we announce the winners, I would like to call the 10 finalists to the stage to receive a certificate of recognition. Please come up as I call your name and stay on the stage for a group picture. Hong Vi Vu. Chloe Angst. Peace Liu. Padmaja Iyer. Amanbir Kendruja. David Poirier. Jaden Rollins. John Cooper. Ashley Joseph. Diane Huang. Slide over a little bit. There you go. Thank you all for such a wonderful presentation. Can we have a round of applause for these fantastic students? Thank you very much. Please take your seats and we'll announce the winners. And now, for the moment we've been waiting for. I'll start by announcing the audience choice winner. The audience choice winner is Peace Liu. Please come to the stage. Congratulations, wonderful job. And now, our second place winner. Our second place winner is Hong Vi Vu. Congratulations. Well done. And our first place winner will be invited to attend the upcoming CSU-wide Grad Slam on May 5th, the Western Association of Graduate Schools competition in March, and will be invited back, according to tradition, to be a Grad Slam judge next year. And the winner is Jaden Rollins. Congratulations, great job. Wonderful. Finally, I want to acknowledge with gratitude the large team of people who put this event together. Special thanks to Amy Russo for all of her work throughout the event, and to Cheryl Cowan for being the organizer-in-chief. Many thanks also to the teams from CGS, Jennifer, Dominique, Erica, and others, to the Hammer Theater staff, led by Anthony Sutton, and to the many other partners, including Wallace at Wellcom Media, Michael Crawford, and the entire marketing and communications team, and to the music department and Jeffrey Benson for bringing us the musical interlude. There are so many people and departments that make this event possible, starting with the students and their faculty members. Thank you also to Holt for making the trip back and being such an outstanding MC. And thanks to all of the others who worked so hard to make this event a success. So with that, I hope that you will join us for a reception downstairs to meet the students and to meet our judges and to enjoy some refreshments. Thank you all for coming.